So we have a brand new serial killer movie from the writer of Seven. This should at least be on the same level as Seven, right? 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 Oh boy. So Psycho Killer was directed by Gavin Polone and it's written by Andrew Kevin Walker, who again wrote Seven, and it stars Georgina Campbell, Logan Miller, Malcolm McDowell of all people. And it's about a woman whose husband is killed by this psycho killer, and she takes it upon herself to try to track this killer down and bring him to justice. So this was a movie I've been hearing about for a while, and it was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool, I guess. It could be interesting. I do like Georgina Campbell from Barbarian and such. I thought she was really good in that movie. And again, the writer of Seven wrote this movie. What could potentially go wrong with this movie? I noticed a few things immediately. First off, this is a directorial debut, which, that's not necessarily a bad thing. There have been pretty good directorial debuts. Again, Georgina Campbell did Barbarian, Zach Cregger's first movie. Well, not really a debut, but like his foray into horror and such. Also, the fact that this movie was in development since 2010. Think about that. It took 16 years to get this movie off the ground. And also, I noticed the theater counts for this movie too. This movie was playing in about a third of the theaters that a movie like this would be playing at. A movie released by Disney playing at a third of the theaters that a movie like this would be playing at. And also, there's been little to no marketing for this movie whatsoever. Little to none. And having seen the movie, I can see why. This movie is as dumb and generic as it gets. And the moments that I'm thinking about where it's like, the things I just remember most from this movie were how underwhelming things were, or how silly things were. And there's hardly anything in between. Is there anything about this movie that's good? Well, the things that I find good in this movie, I don't even think they're that good. I think it's like, okay, that's kind of interesting for a moment, but other than that, nothing else about this movie works. Like, there are times where Georgina Campbell is trying to give a good performance, but there are times where she's not, unfortunately. I do kind of like the whole idea, like how they show the serial killer and such. Like, they don't actually show his face for the majority of the movie. Or, actually, I should say for any of the movie, which that may be a spoiler, but I kind of don't care. But it's kind of silly. And also, the movie itself can be unintentionally funny. Like, there's so many over-the-top moments. There's so many dumb moments. And again, when you get to the ending of this movie, the ending of this movie is just absolutely baffling. And it's absolutely insane. I'll give it this. I did not expect it to go in this direction, but that's something at least. But like, everything else about this movie was just terrible. Again, this movie can be unintentionally funny. Like, there are some editing choices in this movie that are just baffling. Like one in the opening scene when Georgina Campbell's husband gets murdered and such, and the way she kind of reacts to it at first, like her body movements, is like, wait, that was the best shot of this entire movie? It looks silly. Or some moments in this movie where it's like, it doesn't really make sense. Like Logan Miller in this movie, who, if you don't know him, he was the other survivor in Escape Room. When he finds out, like, how he's really involved in the story, it's like, how did you not figure this out? And I was just laughing. And again, that ending, when you find out, like, what's really happening and, like, why this killer is doing the things that he's doing, it's just hilarious. It is so silly to me. There are so many moments like that. And also, the cast of this movie is pretty wasted too. I already talked about Georgina Campbell, where it's like, sometimes her performance is good, but sometimes it just feels very bland, and where her character is just very boring and such. I don't really find a lot of her character to be that interesting. Logan Miller, again, I don't really know too much about him, but I was like, okay, I recognize him a little bit from some of the other movies he's done, but he's wasted in this movie too. But the biggest waste in this movie is Malcolm McDowell. He has no reason to be in this movie whatsoever. None. And it's like, okay, Malcolm McDowell in another dark, disturbing role and such. His character could have been cut from this movie entirely, and I don't think it would have made any difference. Meanwhile, the killer's voice in this movie just made me laugh. Like, it's like a really bad voice changer, and every time I heard him speak, I was just kind of laughing. It's like, no way am I going to be intimidated by this guy. No way I'm going to be intimidated by this killer and such. And I would say this movie's also very inconsistent too. There's a moment in the movie where this is probably going to be a spoiler, but since no one is seeing this movie, I don't care. Sometime after her husband is killed, Georgina Campbell's character finds out she's pregnant. It's like, okay, so this means a lot more to her than anything else because this killer killed her husband and such, and now she's going to have to raise their kid alone. There's a moment in this movie where she's at a bar after finding out she's pregnant, and I don't know what she's drinking. It looks alcoholic. They could have mentioned something about it, like being something like water or a soda or something, but it looks alcoholic. And it's like, didn't you just find out you're pregnant? There's another moment in this movie where it is kind of funny intentionally, where she's reading a book about, being pregnant and such, but the waitress also notices a serial killer book on the table. It's like, okay, that's probably the only moment that got a genuine laugh out of me. And that's it. This movie is just very inconsistent. It doesn't really have any clues or gaps or like anything to kind of make the story flow naturally. And it just rarely makes sense, and it's just so silly to me. And also, I would say this movie has no unique take on the serial killer franchise or serial killer movie genre and such. Like, it has no idea what it's doing. It's amazing that the guy who wrote Seven, which arguably is one of the best serial killer movies out there, this movie has none of it. This feels like a movie that would be written after Seven came out. And it's like, oh, I can make a movie about a serial killer too. Except it is written by the guy who wrote that movie. And it's just baffling to me. It has no unique style. Like, something like Longlegs, which I will admit doesn't really have a unique story. Its atmosphere is drenching in just dread throughout the entire movie. Not to mention Nicolas Cage is just so disturbing in that movie that it kind of made up for a lot of the gaps in the story. But to me, this movie is so terrible. It is just such a waste of time that there's really no reason for anything to happen. And like when you look into like everything about this movie, like the fact that it's been in development for a decade and a half, to the fact that Disney barely marketed this movie, you can kind of see why while watching the finished product. It's like, yeah, this is a movie that I can understand why they were trying to avoid this movie and why they were trying to just bury this, probably make sure no one would see it. And it comes out like the weekend before Scream, so yeah. So Psycho Killer. Everything that's good about this movie is not even that good. Like, Georgina Campbell's performance, I felt, was just very mixed. The portrayal of the serial killer is kind of interesting, but I just feel like it kind of looks silly at times. And again, it can be unintentionally funny. But again, that's also a really bad thing, because like you want to be on the edge of your seat. You want to feel uncomfortable watching a movie like this. But if you're having the exact opposite reaction, you failed. And I would say there's so many dumb moments in this movie. There's so many inconsistent moments in this movie. There's so much wasted talent. The killer's voice is stupid. And when you get to that ending, the ending when you find out why things are happening, my God, I couldn't believe it. And it just feels like it's a movie with no style, no real tone, really no reason to just exist. Even the ending, I just felt like, not counting like why the serial killer is doing all this, but like the ending scenes itself were just very underwhelming. It's like, so what was even the point of this movie again? I don't understand. But when you look into this movie, you will understand everything. So I will give Psycho Killer 0.5 out of 4 stars. Skip it. So, what is your favorite serial killer movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.